Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Throwaway9191910. My 24 female co-workers are bullying me over my weight and eating, and HR refused to do anything. I feel pathetic writing this. I'm not sure whether I'm completely overreacting or not. I've worked for a helpline for the past 5 years. It's a small, specialized helpline, so there are only around 12 to 15 people on the floor at once, plus 6 office staff, HR manager, assistant, admin, and payroll staff. Due to timetabling, we take our breaks in our teams. In my team, there's myself, Julie, 23 female, Sally, 35-ish, and Joan, 45-ish. Julie and Joan are overweight, while Sally is obese. Joan has been with the company since the beginning and is besties with the HR manager. About 6 months ago, I started to bring a packed lunch to save money rather than buying from the fast food place next door to take back to the canteen. Ever since I stopped going with my team to buy lunch, they started some sort of weird campaign against my weight and eating habits. It started off by commenting on my lunch, typically pasta or meat and fish and rice and veggies. Every day they started making snidey remarks about what I was eating. They'd say that it looked like disgusting, how they don't know why I'm eating that rabbit food crap, rather be fat than starve themselves, etc. They also started to say how I thought I was better than them, deliberately trying to make them feel bad, despite me never ever mentioning their weights or diets. I'd tell them that I enjoyed that dish and that I wasn't on a diet. Despite this, they'd still make comments about starving myself or being a rabbit, even after seeing me eat. They'd also make comments about how lucky you skinny bitches are that you can eat anything you want. They'd say these things every single day. They'd stop when I asked, but I'd ask them time and time again not to make comments like that, and the next day they would. I'd ignore this, and to be honest, it didn't bother me that much. Then they moved on to insulting my body. They'd make comments about how skinny I am, that my arms looked like twigs, I shouldn't lose any more weight. They told me I'd never get a boyfriend until I put on weight, and would talk about celebrities with bodies similar to mine, saying how disgusting and boyish they looked. Funny thing is that I've actually gained some weight since I started eating better. I'm an 8 UK and have a clear muscle definition with no bones sticking out. I do not look underweight by any means. I'd tell them not to make comments about my body, that I felt it was hurtful and inappropriate. They'd stop, tutting, rolling their eyes, and mumbling under their breath about how I was being dramatic and shoot each other looks. Again, this continued. Then one day, about a month ago, I told them that they wouldn't like it if I made comments like that to them, only to be told that being told you're skinny is a good thing. You can't be bullied for being skinny. I reiterated that I found it upsetting and didn't want them mentioning my food, eating, and weight, and that I would take things further if it continued. To be honest, it was an empty threat, and I chose instead to eat lunch outside alone. They'd still make comments during work. The job involves some web chat and emailing, so we often have downtime to chat. Anyway, as time has passed, they get worse and worse. 2 days ago, I was talking to a girl from another team about the pizza I had the night before and overheard Sally joking that I probably threw it straight back up. The final straw was today. There's building work going on opposite my building, so I decided to have lunch in the canteen today to avoid the noise and dust. Joan, Sally, and Julie decided to hold an intervention for my eating disorder. As I mentioned above, I do not look underweight, and they've seen me eat pretty much every day for 5 years. This was pretty malicious. I basically lost it and yelled at them. My team leader was in the canteen at the time and took me into the corridor. She told me if I was having problems to take it to HR. She was supportive and said she'd noticed they've been mean to me, but there wasn't anything she could do about it as it was an HR issue. So I went to HR. As I mentioned in the beginning, Joan is best friends with the HR manager. I told the HR manager everything, to have her tell me I was wasting her time, that skinny shaming wasn't real, and that everything they said was meant as a compliment. I asked to file a complaint and she refused. I can't remember the rules for making complaints exactly. We'll check the code of conduct tomorrow when I go in. But from memory, it's the same as warnings, e.g. I have to give verbal, written, final complaints before things can escalate above HR. I rather pathetically stormed out of her office and left work for the day. I'm at a loss about what to do now. I've spoken to my coworkers and HR to be told that this problem is not a problem and they won't do anything about it. I'm trying to go through the proper channels and being denied. I have in the past asked to swap break times and been told I can't due to timetabling. I'm planning on asking to switch to another team. I'm job hunting, but I live in an area with high unemployment, so I don't want to leave my job without having another in its place. Am I blowing this out of proportion? I feel like such a pathetic child. Well, OP, in my opinion, no, you are not blowing it out of proportion. They are being bullies. Honestly, when I was reading your post, I had to go back to read their ages because instead of grown-up women, these people are acting like middle school mean girls or something. Not that I would know because I've never been bullied by a mean girl, but I was bullied when I was a kid as well. To me personally, and I think you've heard this in other commentary, it's about unwarranted opinions. Whether it's weight, whether it's religion or kids or whatever have you. You don't go around commenting on people's lives if they haven't asked you for an outright opinion. But again, that's my personal issue. Now, what do you do now, OP? Well, now you go above HR. You talk to your line manager that HR dismissed you and that you want to take this to the next step because this is a toxic work environment. Hopefully your manager can help you get this complaint written down because it's kind of clear that the manager is looking out for their friend. And what do you guys think OP should do in this situation? Let me know what you think about this whole thing in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Krista now says, the HR woman is trying to get you to ignore it because she's covering for her friend. F that. Every time they make comments, you go to HR. Also, send HR an email so there is an electronic paper trail. You spoke to her in person and it's easy to talk you out of it. If you document why emails are so important, that you attempted to fix the situation and HR fails to act, it will look bad on her. She could lose her job and the company could be open for a lawsuit. Email HR every time. Use the term hostile work environment. Earplug Slug says, don't talk to HR anymore. Email everything. Every occurrence, email a complaint, and always CC to your personal email and to your boss. This will develop a proper paper trail, a common tactic that you need to be aware of. When you email the HR manager, she will come to talk to you while ignoring your email. This is to avoid formal documentation. When this occurs, you immediately email them again, summarizing the conversation. They will avoid replying to emails, so you straight up request for email verification of conversations. You must be vigilant and continue to document every conversation between you and HR, as well as incidents, always in email. If they ask you what you're doing, be blunt. Say that you don't feel they are taking it seriously and are using email as documentation. If she continues to ignore the emails after a couple of weeks, then you forward a complaint to someone higher up explaining the entire situation, and you now have a paper trail to back you up. Make sure you CC a personal email account in case someone shady tries to wipe your work account. Noelani says, first, I am a 95 pounds, 29-year-old woman. I have been small my entire life. I've had 3 kids, 2 being twins, and I'm still small as hell. I wish I could gain about 15 pounds and keep it, but it's very hard, so I understand just being naturally small. I also have had too many comments made about being skinny or needing to eat, so I understand how frustrating that is. I'm sorry you're going through this. Second, you need to go higher than HR lady if possible. Document everything. Also, look into your city's employment laws. You might need to go higher than the company. You can do it. In the meantime, start looking for a new job. Alright, well it sounds to me like the community gave OP some pretty good advice on how to handle this whole situation in the workplace with the emails and all that stuff. Now, unfortunately, OP didn't reply to any of the comments, so we don't have any additional context to the story, and it's time to move on straight to the update to see how this story ends. I want to start off by thanking everyone for their comments. I really wasn't expecting such a response. A few people advised me to record my coworkers, and we aren't allowed phones on the floor due to data protection laws. We are allowed them in the canteen, but as our lockers are downstairs, I usually just grab it on my way out for a lunchtime cigarette, check it outside, then put it in my locker on my way back up. I'm obviously going to start taking it into the canteen now. Some of this might be out of order, so bear with me. So, to start off with, I logged as many incidents as I could remember exactly into a little diary. I actually managed to remember quite a lot, using texts and messages, food plans for the dates and details. Tuesday morning, I'm outside smoking before my shift, and my line manager joins me. She asks if I'm okay and what happened with HR. I tell her, and she told me she'd expect as much, and that I should take it higher and she would back me up. She also tells me that we're bidding for a government contract, which would mean a lot of opportunities, and so I need to stick around. So I go to start my shift, and as advised, sent the HR manager an email about how I was again requesting she file an official complaint, included details, and made sure to mention things like hostile work environment and harassment, and mentioned I'd logged events and had witnesses. About 30 seconds after I sent the email, the HR manager comes onto the floor and asks me into her office. When we're there, she asks me what the email was about, and I pretty much repeat it word for word. I ask her what she was going to do, and she says she will file the complaint and speak to my coworkers. I go back to my desk and email her asking for the notes from our meeting. She replies saying, "I'll talk to them." Later on that day, a non-evil coworker makes a joke about how milky my tea was, and Joan says, "Oh, careful, you don't want to get done for bullying her." It's very clear that the HR manager has just told my coworkers about my issues rather than talked to them. Our director comes in on a Wednesday, so before I leave work, I email her and ask if I can speak to her when she comes in. The next day comes and she finds me on the floor and asks me to go to her office on my break. I tell her everything, making sure to include all the buzzwords and about HR's lack of help. I also insinuated that I had taken legal advice. I felt as though the director also didn't believe in skinny shaming and seemed pissed off at me for bringing it to her, but since she thought I'm gonna sue them, she seemed to take it seriously. She said she'd speak to HR and make sure this was resolved. Thursday, I meet my line manager outside for a cigarette before work, and she tells me that after I'd finished my shift, I work 32 hours a week, Julie, Sally, and Joan work 40, so they usually start and finish a bit earlier and later. That she'd been called into a disciplinary meeting with each of the co-workers. Line manager tells me that while Julie and Joan were apologetic, Sally wasn't. Instead of accepting the warning and agreeing not to continue, she tried to blame it on me. She claimed that I was purposely bringing in packed lunches to shame her, and how I was rubbing my body in her face, not literally, and trying to make her feel bad about herself. She also claimed it was ridiculous, and that thin people couldn't be bullied or receive negative comments. Julie and Joan received verbal warnings, and Sally received a written one as she'd had a previous warning for her attendance. Next step is final, and then fired. Later that day, Joan comes up to me and apologizes, telling me she didn't realize that she was being offensive. She was being motherly and got caught up. I had told her several times when she made comments that it was offensive, and so I felt like she was pinning it all on Sally, who I do believe is the ringleader. But the other two are grown women and responsible for their own actions. Julie has so far ignored the topic, but has been a lot friendlier. I've seen Sally trying to goad the other two into bad behavior. We work in a paperless office, and as we're a very specific helpline, we have a lot of downtime, so we tend to stalk the Daily Mail website, which isn't exactly the most female body-friendly publication out there. Several times Sally has asked if the other two have seen the pictures of certain celebrities with body types like mine, e.g., "Ugh, did you see that photo XX posted in a bikini? How horrible did she look?" I've had the impression she's been trying to get the other girls to trash talk those bodies so she can still be mean to me in a passive-aggressive way without actually saying anything herself. Then again, I could be reading into it too much, but I honestly don't care anymore. It's very clear Sally is a bitter woman, projecting her own insecurities onto me. So, it looked like a happy ending. I'll make sure to log any further incidents and bring them to HR. Thank you, Reddit. I love you all. Well, OP, even though you had to push the wheels really hard for them to start moving, they did, and now you're in a better place, let's say. Nobody's bothering you. So good for you for standing up for yourself. That's really important. And all the best in the future, OP. Take care. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user The Ex Who Didn't Care. Rude customer versus union worker, also known as I'll still have my job long after you're gone, fool. I was working at the postal station from hell, had a piece of rolling equipment get caught in a piece of broken tile and pop up then onto my toe, shattered the toenail. I was lucky not to have a broken toe from it too. So I'm on light duty, which meant I had to work the service window where people come to pick up packages. Signature required mail, fill out change of address, hold mail forms, stuff like that. Remember, I have a foot injury. This means that getting around is not easy for me. Have a customer come in about an hour before closing and hand over 2 pick up your mail forms from certified letters. You probably don't realize this, but in big city facilities, we don't have your certified mail sitting in a gold case all by itself and postal workers staring wistfully at it wondering when we'll see you. No, we have your mail sorted out by the last number of your street address in trays with hundreds of other certified letters just like yours. This means it can take quite a while to find your mail when you finally drag your butt in to pick it up. So I go looking for these 2 letters. It was a recent enough thing that I checked the stand-up cubby we had for the latest certified to pickups. Not there. So I hobbled to the longer-term storage area, about 10 feet from the door. I finally find both letters and go to the window. The customer tells me that he wants to talk to the postmaster because it took 3 minutes to get his mail and that was unacceptable. I tried to convince him to get the party more likely to be on the premises to handle this complaint, supervisor, but nope, he's adamant about speaking to the postmaster. Hint people, the later in the day it is, the less likely the postmaster will be there. But okay, you want the postmaster, you get the postmaster. I smile and tell him, sure, I'll go get him now, and I shut the Dutch door with his mail still in my hand. You thought 3 minutes was a long wait? Ha! You just activated a union worker trap card, bub! Now, I did go to the postmaster's office first, but as usual, he wasn't in there. Still, I made a good faith effort to look there. I didn't see him on the floor either, so I checked the dock, conveniently getting a smoke while I was out there. Nasty former habit. I checked the break room and got and drank a soda while I was there. Knocked on the men's room door, no answer. Oops, that soda just worked its way through me. Need to use the ladies now. I was about to check the parking lot to see if his car was even there. Oh look, there's the postmaster coming back from an off-site meeting. I take the time to bringing him up to speed on the customer's complaint. This guy knew me and smiled. How long have you been keeping him waiting now? I think it's been 20 to 25 minutes. You can deal with him while I handle the paperwork. This'll be fun. You're lucky I like you because you're a hard worker though. The customer was absolutely livid when the door finally opened again. He demanded that I be fired right then and there. As if that's how it works in a union job. My boss, to his credit, chewed out the customer for being such a jerk to an injured employee who had actually done a great job in taking only 3 minutes to find 2 letters amongst hundreds in 2 separate locations. He even took one of the trays over to the ledge, slammed it down and said, see how long it would take you to go through this to find not 1 but 2 letters and then tell me 3 minutes is too long. Lesson to be learned. Union workers don't have to take crap off of dirtbags. We won't. So spare yourself a whole lot of grief and chill the F out. It's only mail for crying out loud. Well, he really did want to talk to the postmaster and he got to. You looked for him, OP, so good job. Well done. Thanks for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.